far greater than anyone else that I've met. You know, I think that I thrive on that. I think that's my biggest motivation in life. You know, is to compete. You know, find different competitions in certain things in life and try to overcome that. You know, be it positive or negative. But I have yet to meet someone who is as competitive as me. You know, and I just feel that much confident about my competitive drive.
I want to ask you some true and false questions. Just three.
Just three, okay.
Just three. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever.
False.
Why?
Because I didn't play against, you know, all the great players prior to me, and I had those other players to influence my game. I mean, it's a great honor, don't get me wrong. But I love to have played against Jerry West to determine if I was a better guard than him or Oscar Robertson, but we'll never know.
Michael Jordan, had he stayed with baseball, would be playing in the big leagues now.
I believe that. A lot of people may not, but I believe that. And I gave, for that short amount of time, I gave the dedication to the game of baseball a true effort. You know, it wasn't, you know, I wasn't there making money. I wasn't trying to endorse any product. You know, I was truly there for the love of the game. You know, I was up at 6 o'clock with bloody blisters all over my hand, just trying to show that I could play this game. I grew up playing this game. I was, you know, I loved baseball. And at the time that I stepped away was a time where, you know, I was being asked to be, being thrown into, you know, a situation that involved, you know, baseball strikes and things of that nature, and that was never my intent, you know. So I kindly walked away before I was thrust into that whole event.
Michael Jordan will absolutely never play in another NBA game after this season.
That's a fact. I will not play in another NBA game. You know, I would play basketball. I'm glad you said NBA game. But I got kids who love the game of basketball. I got friends who love to talk trash about me. I got a lot of young kids who love to compete against me at my camp. I'm still going to play the game of basketball. But from an NBA standpoint, that's it. This is the last year.
I seen him do things that you can't even dream about doing. I seen him go up on one side of the lane, get bumped, still up in the air, twist the ball, do all this in the air and lay it up on the other side. People can't do that.
One play really sticks out of my mind. I would never forget. I have it on tape at home. We playing New Jersey Nets. Michael get the ball and he maneuvers inside, outside, around back. I mean, it was unbelievable and makes the shot. I mean, he's the greatest.
I remember him getting the steal, tiptoeing, throwing it in, coming out of bounds, coming back inbounds. Then he turns his back, hits it off the glass, and gets a foul. Just watching him in motion was really exciting.
You know, just seeing him shed those tears after winning that first championship. You know, he had let a lot of weight off his shoulders to be able to win a championship and be compared to some of the greatest players that ever played the game.
I'll tell you a story that I think summed the whole thing up. When we was playing in Chicago, they switched and put John Stockton on it. He turned around and dunked on Stockton. So some guy got up and said, "Hey, Jordan, pick on somebody your own size." Next time down the floor, he dunked on Mel Turpin. And went over and looked at the guy and said, "Was he big enough?"
Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time!
Just some of the marvelous stories about the career of Michael Jordan. I'm joined by a guy who's got a few of those himself, Charles Barkley. You guys are pretty tight. Got a favorite Michael story, Chuck?
Well, in 1984 when I tried out for the Olympic team, I didn't really want to go because I didn't think I was good as those guys who went to the big schools. So my coach, Sonny Smith, talked me into going. And when I got there, I actually played real well. And when I got back, he said, "What do you think?" I said, "Coach, if I get in shape and I work hard, I can be a good player." But I played against this one guy. I've never seen anybody that good. And his name is Michael Jordan. And this is when he was back in college. I never expected him to do what he did when he got to the NBA. But the first time I played against him for like a week, I knew he was the best I'd ever seen.
And you make a good point there because there was nobody, and we'll be talking to you in our roundtable too with more on this, Charles, but there was nobody with the combination of will and skill And nobody, as he told John Thompson, with that kind of creativity.
Let me ask you something, Mike. A lot of kids copy you, and a lot of things that you did were things that people had never seen before. Did you ever practice those things, that creativity, that self-expression that you did, some of those shots you made?
No, I never did. I mean, you know, obviously when you're as a kid, you want to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to make the game-winning shot. Yes, but I mean, in terms of the creativeness, I think you've seen it. You know, it has happened in situations where the defense dictates what your reaction may be. But then once you do it once, you know you have a gifted talent to create. You know, in any other situation, you try to alter, you try to change. But all it was the expansion of Elgin Baylor, Dr. J, all the guys who was creative before you. And I grew up watching them, so the vision was there. It's just the creativity expanded with my talent.
What motivates you, fear or the feeling of wanting to conquer or be successful?
What motivates me is the unknown. No one knows. You know, they can all speculate, but no one really knows. And you know, when you look at my career from high school all the way up through to the pros, no one knew what Michael Jordan was capable of. You know, and myself, I didn't know. You know, but I didn't let that stop me. You know, and I let that motivate me more so than anything. That, you know, as long as it's unknown, that means I have a chance. You know, and that's the way I pursued my whole career.
Have you ever gone on the court and been afraid?
No, I've never been afraid. I mean, obviously you're nervous, but afraid means you're not confident in your skills. I have total confidence in my skills, so I'm not afraid.
Of all the rivalries which you've had, which is the toughest one you've ever had as an individual?
As an individual, it was probably the Detroit Pistons. You know, when we were trying to get over that hump, you know, I mean, we had the battle. I wouldn't say fear, but intimidation. You know, because to some extent it got away from clean basketball. You know, the basketball that you grew up playing. It got to more where just one hard foul could end your career, basically. You got to overcome that intimidation factor to keep going to the basket, keep taking that shot, keep aggressively attacking them. You know, and I think as much as it was a battle, I mean, it was, once we accomplished that, it was unbelievable success. And no one else could challenge us that way, I didn't think, as a team or even as individuals, to a point where, you know, it bothered us. You know, that was good for us. That was good for me to go through that, and it only made me a tougher player.
How about from a personal standpoint? All players have one player you play against that you say, hey, I enjoy playing against this guy and I'm looking forward to it and I just want to show him.
It changed from player to player. Magic Johnson, obviously, because of his notoriety, and Larry Bird, his notoriety, that we had to get past them, or I had to get past them individually before I gain any credibility or can ever get into their ballpark. I had to win championships, I had to win MVPs, I had to make impacts on my team. So that became a challenge for me. Clyde Drexler, who, you know, in essence, we were compared, you know, we were, you know, viewed as being similar. I wanted to show the difference. I felt like it was no comparison, it was no closeness. It was totally a separation between he and I. Every time I battled with that notion in mind, you know, that I wanted to separate myself from him. I mean, we're good friends, don't get me wrong, but it was just that, you know, how people perceived us in our games. You know, I wanted to excel my game and isolate my game from everybody else. That I was more than just, you know, a few dimensional. Even when it came to Magic Johnson, and I mean, Magic Johnson was a crowd pleaser. He was a good offensive player. He was a great motivator. You know, average defensive player. You know, I wanted to change that. I wanted to take it another step. I wanted to do all those things, you know, that it could separate me from Magic Johnson. You know, I'm not saying he wasn't great. He still is great. But we're great in our own different way, you know, and that was motivational for me, you know, and to this day it still is.
You did an awful lot of scoring big game situations. Who did the best job defending Michael Jordan?
During my heyday, I mean, they didn't have one man. You know, they had, you know.
There was not one guy that you hated to see coming.
No, I mean, I knew Dumars. Dumars
Okay.
positioned himself defensively great, you know, with help. He knew he had Rodney, he had Lambie, he had everybody helping, you know, but he could position himself great with me, and that was a great challenge to try to outthink him because he was a great thinker on defense. He tried to take away some of my advantages. I tried to expand on my advantages, and I tried to attack him where he had weaknesses, you know, utilizing my size, you know, trying to get him in a one-on-one situation before the defense could come and help him. You know, that, you know, I would say he was the guy that made me or forced me to expand from an offensive standpoint.
How would you have guarded Michael Jordan?
I made him shoot the jump shot. You know, even though, you know, when he drives, he penetrates, he can involve a lot of other people. If he stands out and shoots the jump shot, you only got one person you got to worry about. And I don't think he can score 100 points. I don't think.
I do.
Back here at the jam session where there is very little room to breathe today. I think everybody in Atlanta is in this place, showing off varying degrees of skill. And we welcome you back to All-Star Weekend here on TNT. Ernie Johnson joined now by Irvin Magic Johnson. And in that last segment, as we salute Michael Jordan, he's talking about using you as kind of a barometer and a measuring stick and kind of, I need to improve this way or I want to improve that way. I'll never be getting the notoriety unless I get those rings and that kind of thing. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be used as a barometer when you talk about Michael Jordan. I think what happened was Larry Bird and I started it off, and we thought we had something special until this guy named Michael Jordan came into the league. And he took the league and to another level. He took basketball to another level, and he took the skill of basketball, of a basketball player, to another level. There's never been anybody quite like Michael. There probably never will be. And I tell you, we all used to go out, Larry and I, and try to keep up with this guy in terms of skill level. We knew he was practicing 10 hours a day. That made us have to practice 12 hours a day. And he told us something interesting at the Olympics, and I'll never forget this, talking to Larry and I. He said, look, you guys are the old sheriff, but there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Michael Jordan. So I'm going to take it from where you guys started, and I'm going to take it to a whole nother level. And Michael, you did just that.
Exactly right. If you look at the stats for a guy like Michael Jordan, certainly they stack up against all kind of players of all time in this league, but how important were they? Let's return to John and MJ.
What impact does your statistical place in the NBA have on you?
Well, that never drove me. You know what I mean? The stats only add up when you put forth the effort and you don't worry about it. You know, good things happen to those people that work hard. If I sit here and play for the stats, I would have never retired in '93. Or I still probably be chasing Wilt Chamberlain's all-time, you know, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar all-time scoring lead. I mean, that doesn't drive me. I mean, sure, I mean, it defines to some extent for people who don't know me or, you know, 20 years from now would never know who Michael Jordan really is. But based on the stats, he must have been pretty decent. You know, those are only ways that I look at stats. Other than that, you know, it's all about winning championships and winning. You know, the stats that matters to me is the games that we win and the rings that you collect.
Mike, did you achieve what you intended to achieve with the Wizards?
I think I've achieved it only if the players take what I've done over the last couple of years and moving in the right direction. I mean, what we have done, we've brought hope to the city of Washington. You know, and I think that winning and finishing out this year with a good playoff run, I think shows if you believe in something, you put forth the effort. It's not about age, it's not about ability. It's about believing that you can come together as 12 to 15 man team and put forth the effort, fulfill a role, and go out there and play hard. Good things will happen.
You have sons that play.
Right.
Were they critical or positive about your performance when you came back because they were old enough to see you play?
Yeah.
Was that fun?
It is fun. I mean, because I think it's, they critique with not really knowing, but gathering information for what I tell them, and they have their favorite players, which in essence I have to compete against those players, and I find myself, if I have a good game against one of those players, believe me, I'm gonna let him know it, as much as he's gonna probably make excuses why the other player or the player that I'm playing against didn't have a great game against me. But that's fun. I mean, from a father, that's great to have conversation about your game with your son.
When you see young kids talk about Micheal and how Micheal did things, and I want to get up early in the morning and play, I want to leave the gym late and play, I want to work, what impact does that have on you?
It's truly inspiration that, my love has been seen, my love has been passed on. My obligation to the game of basketball has been fulfilled because someone did that to me. In turn, I'm doing that for other players and for the game of basketball.
I look at yourself and Jerry Rice. Have you guys extended the life expectancy of an athlete?
Yeah, I think we have. I think there's some truth to that. I think two things have to come in place. You gotta have true love for what you're doing, and you have to be very lucky in terms of health. If you have both of them, then you can extend, you can play as long as you want, because you got to put forth the effort. I mean, when you look at Jerry's a great friend. I think our careers parallel a lot. He's a couple years older than me. I remind him of that. But his desire to be the best at what he does keeps him pushing, not just during the season, but during the off season, or physically preparing himself for a season and mentally finding ways to challenge himself, or listen to the naysayers as motivation, things of that nature, and staying healthy. If you can do that, then you can extend the longevity of someone's career. But if you take it for granted, you can't. I don't think either one of us take what we have done and what we love for granted.